back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm the author of the young adult fantasy novel Firian Rising, and this is English Nerd. So, I am back with a few recommendations for Shakespeare movies that are pretty much my favorites. Now, just a disclaimer, I have definitely not seen all the Shakespeare movies out there. I have a few notable ones missing from those that I've seen. So for instance, I have not seen a Macbeth, even though I've heard that the Michael Fassbender version is really interesting. I can't speak to that from personal experience because I haven't seen it myself. However, I have seen more Shakespeare movies than I suppose your average person because I'm an English teacher, and I wanted to share with you the ones that I thought were good enough that I actually have them at home. I bought them over the years because I just thought they were awesome. So this is good for if you teach Shakespeare, if you just want to learn a bit about Shakespeare without trying to read the plays, which is really pretty difficult the first time around, especially if you're not in a class. So these are my recommendations. One disclaimer though. If you are planning to show any of these movies to a class, do watch them first because just about all of them have some things that could be considered inappropriate for younger viewers, because Shakespeare is not the stuffy person that sometimes he's made out to be. Instead, he has a lot of really dirty humor at times and violence and things like that. So just word to the wise, be smart when you're showing this to younger people, but at least scenes from all of them are excellent and good for all ages. Okay, Shakespeare wrote in three main genres: comedies, tragedies, and histories. He does have some outliers, the romances, he has one revenge play, etc. But I'm going to organize my video that way. So comedies first, tragedies next, and then histories at the end. So very first comedy that I want to recommend is Much Ado About Nothing with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson. If you see, it has a lot of other stars in it as well. Keanu Reeves is not a Shakespearean actor, so I mean, bless him as a person, but whew, he struggles, and it's really pretty funny. Denzel Washington does a pretty good job, and there are lots of other stars in this. It is charming, it is funny, and it's really understandable for people who don't know anything else about Shakespeare. I think this was the first movie that I ever saw about Shakespeare. I was about 12, and there was only a scene or two that needed to be fast forwarded, and I thought it was really excellent. Just the witty banter and the star-studded cast makes this a really fun watch. So that is my first recommendation. The second is this, Twelfth Night. It has Helena Bonham Carter in it, but my favorite is the lead. It's Imogen Staunton. It's Imogen Stubbs. Imogen Stubbs, who plays Viola in Twelfth Night. She is just outstanding. So the story is that she and her twin brother are traveling over the ocean, but then they get in a shipwreck and wash up on the shore of a country that's at war with the country that they come from. So in order to make a living, protect her identity as somebody from that other country, she decides to cross-dress so that she can work for the Duke, because it's only men who work for the Duke. And shenanigans ensue. If you've seen She's the Man, that is loosely based on the plot of Twelfth Night, so you can imagine how tangled up that gets. This is, it depends on the day. Some days I like Much Ado About Nothing the most of the comedies. Some days I like Twelfth Night the most. It just depends on my mood, but it is just absolutely outstanding. There are parts that get me laughing so hard. So Twelfth Night, highly recommend. So those are the two comedies that I would recommend most highly. I have seen a few others that I don't like quite as much, so I'm going to recommend just those. As far as the tragedies go, this should come as no surprise. I'm going to recommend Hamlet. Again, no surprise, because you've probably seen, if you've gone to my channel page, that I have an All About Hamlet series that covers all of the scenes from Hamlet. It's basically like a deep learning, teaching sort of series on the whole play. So I am just a massive fan of Hamlet. Kenneth Branagh's is considered the gold standard of all the Hamlet productions on film because it is the only one that is unabridged, first of all, and second of all, the acting is just top-notch. So there are some places where you can tell that it's unabridged, which is, you power through, but there are also moments that just about brought me to tears. And just a heads up, there is an intermission in the movie, so if you get this from the library or something, because I don't think it's on any streaming services at the moment, at least that I'm aware of, know that it is a 2-disc movie. There is an intermission because it's about 4 hours long, which sounds very intimidating perhaps, but in college, when I was a freshman, I had a lot of friends who were studying Hamlet in their English classes. I was not, but I wanted to know about Hamlet, so we all sat together and we watched this, and we got so into it. There's this incredible speech right before the intermission, and it just is so inspiring and creepy, at the same time. And then the intermission thing came up, and we realized, oh no, we need part 2. So it was snowing that day, and I volunteered to go up to the library to find part 2. So I went, it sounds fake, but the snow was up to my knees or something, and I trudged all the way up to the library, and come to find out it was not there. And I was just going nuts for the next couple days. I would check all the time to see if part 2 was there. Finally, I actually ran into the person who was returning part 2, and we are friends to this day. Not just because of that, but we had some mutual friends already. Anyway, this is excellent, and there's some really fun cameos that just pop up out of nowhere. So you've seen most of the movie, and then you see Charlton Heston. You think that you've gone through all the cameos. No, Billy Crystal. Oh wait, at the very, very end, who's that teeny tiny minor character? It's Robin Williams. So lots of great performances here. The next movie I'm going to recommend is also no surprise, I suppose. It's Hamlet, a different version. This is the one with David Tennant. If you don't have 4 hours to devote to a Shakespearean tragedy, I would recommend this one. It's about 2 hours long. I don't know, I haven't actually checked the number of minutes. 2.5 hours. So still considerably shorter than 4 hours long. And this one has a better Claudius and Gertrude. So if you care about that sort of thing, there's some things that are certainly better done in this Hamlet, like the Ophelia, I think, is much better in this Hamlet. It's Kate Winslet, she just knocks it out of the park. But the Claudius and Gertrude in this Hamlet are far superior. It's Patrick Stewart, who is already amazing as Claudius, and then Penny Downey, whom I had not heard of, who is the best Gertrude I've seen on the stage, on screen, anywhere. So another really excellent choice. He's a much more sprightly Hamlet, as you can imagine. So that's it for the tragedies. I have seen other tragedy movies, but those are the 2 that I decided to buy because I love them so much. The very last category is the histories, and what I would recommend is The Hollow Crown, which has Tom Hiddleston, Jeremy Irons, and Ben Whishaw. So I will admit that I have not seen, this has 4 movies in it. I've seen 3 of them. I've seen Henry IV parts 1 and 2, and Henry V. I have not seen Richard II, which is technically the very first one. That's the one with Ben Whishaw, so I'm not sure how he does. But Henry IV part 1 and Henry V, not so much the middle one, but those 2 are absolutely outstanding. Outstanding. I love the 2 of them together. It's just incredible. So this is kind of my newest find as far as really excellent Shakespeare movies go. So yeah, I would recommend find The Hollow Crown, especially Henry IV part 1, which is the story of, well, okay, so Jeremy Irons plays Henry IV, Tom Hiddleston plays Henry V. In Henry IV part 1, Jeremy Irons is the king, and Tom Hiddleston is running around with the ne'er-do-wells in a kind of bad part of London, and so Henry IV is just regretting that he ever had this son. Why can't he be more like a king? And it's really his journey, Henry V's journey to become the man that he should be. It's kind of the Lion King one. And then Henry V is when Henry V is now the king, and he takes over parts of France. So you get the really amazing speech, "We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother," and that whole thing. Both of them have an incredible flair for Shakespeare, and so I would recommend that. Okay, that's it for my list. There are lots of other great Shakespeare movies out there, but those are the ones that I have chosen to own because they are just that good. Hopefully that was a helpful list for you. If there are any other movies that you've seen Shakespeare-wise that you would highly recommend, put those in the comments below. I would love to hear more options for myself as well. And I will see you next Monday. Bye.